Greetings and welcome back. I had to go take a break and give some attention to my children. So I was talking about trauma and giving you some background on the trauma that I've dealt with. So after several phases of trauma, such as childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood, and then my 30s, when I got into my 40s, this unprocessed trauma had reached a level of toxicity in me that turned into PTSD and complicated grief and depression, I guess, but kind of almost seemingly bipolar depression. I don't really want to diagnose it because I went to be evaluated several times and was not diagnosed with anything. I was told that everything about me is understandable and normal in relation to what I actually went through and survived. So there wasn't anything wrong with me, but I'm just trying to give you a feel for what I was going through. PTSD, complicated grief. I stopped eating. It wasn't really anorexia though. I can explain that at another time. And sort of mania, where I felt full of inspiration and like I could change the world and that everything in the world was improving. And then crashing depression, where I wished I was never born. I wished I would go to sleep and not wake up again. Nothing would ever change, etc. I call that being in a funk or a dark night of the soul. And it just was like I felt like I could never feel normal emotions again or feel happy again or enjoy life again. And that the things that I had lost I would never get back and nothing could ever take their place. Just on and on and on. So something in me just reached a point of crisis where it felt like I had to cleanse and purify and detoxify, and that was all I knew. I knew there was more to it than that, but I just knew that's what I had to do. And I started on my birthday on July the 3rd of 2015 at the age of 45. And I made a video about it on YouTube, and I'll try to share it here sometime, about my journey there with healing by beginning with cleansing and purifying. And I began with the physical level. I did total physical detoxing for several months, as well as drinking huge, big power smoothies all the time with super green food powder and organic whole yogurt and flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, organic bananas, organic chopped fruit, 100% organic carrot juice. And I would drink these huge bottles every day, and I would take cleansing baths, and I would constantly play binaural beats and hypnosis tracks and all kinds of stuff by the Pleiadians and people like that to try to pull me out of this low vibration. And it worked. It somehow slowly pulled me out of it and broke that spell. But I was still very weak and very sick, very bedbound. I like to lay around all the time and watch spiritual YouTube videos and just not move much or do much at all except just look out the window and just not think of anything for a long time. Not working at a job, not going to school, not doing anything. And my children were in foster care, so I had no choice but to totally focus on myself. And I did. I took full advantage of that opportunity. And so gradually I decompressed from the trauma that was so tightly constricting me, like a full body straitjacket with wires on the inside that was going into all my nerves and making me have a constant Charlie horse on all levels. Spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. So I was finally able to gradually relax that physically. And then that allowed me to begin working on the emotional and mental healing. And as a result of having to survive for so long and feeling not loved and like an orphan and stuff, I had become callous and ruthless, arrogant, self-righteous, judgmental, because I was toughly judging the world and assessing my survival and then saying, this is what has to happen. None of the joy and sweetness and prettiness of life, you know. And so whenever issues would come up, I would at first lose it. Over and over again, I would lose it and go into PTSD mode or grief mode or whatever. And gradually I was able to start complaining and saying, I don't like this, I don't want to be this way. And using more hypnosis and more cleansing and more talking with my partner to really bring myself to task with these things, and say, okay, if you have to be the love that you never received, how do you do that? Because how do you be something that you never received? Which for me was unconditional love. Unconditional love of me. Not saying I'm not good enough, I'm not right in the head, I'm not what was expected to be, I'm not this, I'm not that. Unconditional love. And my partner gave me unconditional love, even though I got really ugly. And he just understood that I was really suffering and very far out of alignment. And my own family never did that for me. And most of their friends didn't either, although a few did. But they're independent thinkers anyway. They don't follow any one social guru, any one cool person who wants to lead the clique or whatever. They do their own thing and make their own decisions about who they like. And those friends make me feel like I still have a chance to go back to my soul home in North Carolina and know that I would have a few friends. So thank God for non-judgmental people who know how to love unconditionally. So I brought myself to task on it, and it took a long time to overcome that arrogance, that callousness, that ruthlessness, that self-righteousness, that judgmentalism, to let go of that and open the door for awakening and awareness by being objective to my own circumstances and compassionate to myself like I would be to anybody else, and to start treating myself like a wounded child. I was told to stop crying, shake it off, it's my own fault for whatever I did. That's what I grew up with. Now, with my child, the first thing I do is say, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Is there something I can do to help you feel better? I know how you feel. I felt that way too before. So I'm here with you in that, And I started treating myself that way. And it was really radical. And it healed my trauma to be the love I never received to myself. And as I did that, and I wasn't emotionally bankrupt anymore, as I did that and filled up my love tank, as Matt Kahn refers to it, I then had enough overflowing drops of unconditional love to share specifically with the people that I previously had that negative attitude towards, like being angry, wounded, and judgmental about my birth family, my family of origin. I was gradually able to cleanse that with those drops of unconditional love that I had saved up towards myself, or any of my enemies, or society in general, or any situation. I would say, okay, I need to practice awakening to the true divine nature, the neutrality, the It is what it is, it does what it does, and whatever happens, happens, nature of everything. Acceptance, allowing, and gently embracing unconditionally, like I know how you feel. Embracing it and just allowing it. And then having the spaciousness to consciously choose, okay, I have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's complicated. It's not simple PTSD like you see a car crash, so now you're nervous when you drive. This is complicated PTSD like war veterans have. And it doesn't play out by like hearing a car backfire and then you punch someone beside you. That's not how it plays out. It plays out where, say you have abandonment issues or rejection issues because you were traumatized in that way. So whenever anything happens that you perceive as abandonment or rejection, you then go into the trauma mode of withdrawing, hiding, crying, getting depressed, avoiding the person, or attacking them, or whatever your mode is. And I was gradually able to say, I want to have post-traumatic development where I have moved through it and beyond it. So what does it look like when you go up the other side as you heal from PTSD? How does that feel? How does that look? I want to have post-traumatic development syndrome, not PTSD. So I've been in trauma counseling for a while to help me cope and to process things and to accept the past and to move on. One thing that I already knew instinctively but that was really emphasized was to have a comfort kit for when you're triggered. And this comfort kit will catalyze you into awakening awareness and peaceful acceptance and allowing and breathing and going on with your day. So my comfort kit has a little thing of bubbles, a little bottle of lavender essential oil, some really soft feathers, some crystals, a little bar of Ghirardelli chocolate, things like that. And when I feel triggered and I know I want to be catalyzed, I can get my kit, you know. Another thing you can do is rewriting your story. You can either change the facts completely and say, like, I had a happy childhood, my parents did the best they could, and nothing that bad happened. But if it's not true, then it won't resonate in your subconscious and realign you and recalibrate you. So you can rewrite your story from a different perspective, like that of a wise woman or a medicine person talking to you about your story. And I do that by framing my story as a journey of the hero, as a hero's journey. And that I'm a hero and I went through these trials and tribulations in order to gain compassion and wisdom that I could then share with my people, because that's one of my divine purposes in this life. And it actually worked. And then I've been working on spiritual healing as well. Not so much deprogramming from a religion like a lot of people, because I understand how religion gives thought constructs to whatever we need to understand and describe. I understand that. But spiritual healing in the aspect of healing, restoring, rebirthing. For example, if you look at the medicine wheel, you can think about yourself in your life and you can pinpoint where you need to be on the medicine wheel. Right now, the image that's coming to my mind is the south and the rose quartz, the sun in the sky, clear but yet soft and cool, just shining peacefully. The energy of deer and mouse that are gentle and humble and just do their own thing and don't try to bother anybody usually. You know, whatever lessons are found in the South of healing your heart chakra, your love chakra. The rose quartz signifies that, and the sun shining in your heart, the golden seed of Christ consciousness. And for me, that's deeply buried and smoldered, and it shines through every now and then, but I'm not living fully embodied as my total, beautiful, divine self. I'm still processing pain and trauma, but I've come a long way. I'm way farther along than I was. And I'm pretty close to some really interesting breakthroughs, actually. But I had to be able to get back to unconditional love because trauma, it can murder your soul. I had to laugh whenever I would hear someone say, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I did not find that to be true. I found out whatever doesn't kill you actually cripples you. And you have to find your way back to being functional again. You have to give yourself rehab and therapy and all that. So, there's so many pretty birds and beautiful flowers today. It's just gorgeous and peaceful. And part of accepting and allowing with trauma is sort of taking the traumas off of your hook and putting them on Spirit's hook, Karma's hook, and saying, I've carried these boulders long enough, and it's time to launch them into outer space for a while and let them float around, or put them in God's hands, or however you want to think about it. And every now and then you'll try to peek at that boulder and touch it and fondle it and be like, is this still going on? Is this okay? You know, what is this? And that's okay to do that if you need to revisit it, but don't pick that boulder back up again. Leave it back there with God or Spirit or the cosmos, and then step back into yourself without that boulder, because you got other little pebbles and boulders to deal with. And I found it's a really gradual process of going forward and back. I would make tremendous progress, and my partner would think I'm finally healed and now life's going to be good again. And then I would slide down into a funk again with a different issue that needed to be processed, or the same issues coming up again and needing to be processed in a different way, like dealing with the grief one time for 3 months. And then you're fine for a while, and then it comes up again and you have to deal with the anger. And then it comes up again and you have to deal with the loss. Yeah. Over and over again, spiraling around that wheel. Around that medicine wheel of life, that spiral of life. And so, for me, healing from trauma really involves honoring my true self and my true experience and my true perceptions, whether anyone else understands it or not. You know, my family of origin can say, oh no, she doesn't love us. Like, we don't know what's wrong with her. She has a lot of misperceptions, and like, someone needs to kick her butt into alignment. Like, maybe someday she'll get it together, although I doubt it, but like, time will tell, you know, she'll really have to prove herself. The dialogue going on in the heads of the people that traumatized you. My dialogue for myself is that I am a divine being. I am a hero on a journey. I survived a lifetime of traumas, and I processed it intelligently and emotionally. And my story deserves to be honored, and so I will honor my story. I will honor my truth and my perspective, and I will be generous enough in my spirit to offer unconditional love to them too. And I don't say, oh, it's okay, what you did is okay, you know, whatever. I just don't say anything at all. I say, you know, that's an old timeline that unraveled, and we don't need to talk about that anymore. That's water under the bridge. We need to start right here, right now, and go forward from here, building a new foundation. Because I processed my lessons, including the lessons where I looked at myself through their eyes to see why they thought that about me, and then worked on aligning myself. Some things about me, though, can't be changed. I was born an introvert, with all of the weird things that go along with that. Like wanting to go to a party and sit under a table and watch everybody, but not wanting to leave, wanting to be there, but just be observing and feeling really happy that way. Or going to a festival and just sitting in your van and smoking and listening to talk radio while the festival plays right by your door. You feel totally happy doing that, but other people want to drag you out of the car and say you're missing everything and all this. So you go and you're bored and it stretches you out and you see stuff that you don't like. And, they just didn't understand me at all or honor me in any way. I honor myself that way. I tell my partner, I'm not going to the Met because you can't leave the deck and then return to the gig. If I want to go sit in the van to smoke and get my head together, I can't go back into the venue. So I don't want to go to the Met. We can only go to the parlor, And he understands completely. Because every time we go to the Met, I go in, I have a drink, I listen to about 4 songs, I go to the bathroom, I go out on the deck and smoke a cigarette, and then I walk back to the van. And I turn on the radio and I cruise on my cell phone. And I feel totally happy and complete. So part of healing from trauma is honoring yourself in the ways that you were not honored before. Giving yourself permission and allowing yourself to be who you are. Processing the pain in your own way to the point where it loses its emotional charge in you. And this can take years, or it could happen in a moment. For me, it took years and it's ongoing. And it's not, I have been broken, but I'm not permanently broken. I'm not ruined. I have been ruined, but I'm not permanently ruined. I've been through it. I'm like the Velveteen Rabbit, The more I've been through, the more I am fully embodied. But now I'm coming to a phase where it's time to expand. Expansion. Once you can heal that trauma to where it's manageable, if you have depression, PTSD, anorexia, complicated grief, once you get that manageable and you start getting to know yourself, then you can start expanding. And one of the first things I've done to expand is getting this video camera and making this series and offering it to the world. All of our videos are public and all of them are not, none of them are monetized. So movie stars could watch these videos and I wouldn't even know it. Or the most humble person without enough data to watch commercials could watch it. Anybody can watch it. So I'm offering myself to the world with unconditional love, fearlessly. And that's part of healing. Sharing your story, processing it, integrating it so that you can expand to the next level of who you are and not be stuck in brokenness and bondage. And if you are religious, I know in Christianity they believe that Jesus Christ, Yeshua, has the power to go inside your heart and your third eye and all of that and wash you clean and realign you from the inside out. And the Holy Spirit can then move through you all the time, unhindered. Because if you're stuck in PTSD and all this stuff, you're going to grieve the Holy Spirit and you're going to make it hard for the Holy Spirit to move through you and give you the blessings of God. I haven't really practiced any other religions, but I'm sure every religion has its own way of saying that. So if you can't do it yourself, you can turn to someone like Yeshua or Saint Michael, Saint Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel. You can turn to any goddess or god you wish. As long as it gets you home to the source, that's what matters, okay? God created everything, including the gods and goddesses. Jesus said, I have sheep in many flocks, not just this one. So I don't see Jesus as the icon of an American cult. I see him as Yeshua, Melchizedek, Buddha, all the different names he's had as he's walked on the earth. So I don't feel any negative attachment to him. I love him. Him, her, it. A lot of the idealized paintings of Jesus look like a woman with a beard, which is a really interesting blending of the divine feminine and the divine masculine in one person in a really gorgeous way that makes you feel in love, which is the vibe of Jesus. He makes everybody fall in love with everything. That's why when I had really good kind bud in the past, I would call it Jesus herb. The kind of herb that affected your mind, not your body high, that gave you couch lock, but that expanded your mind so everything looked beautiful and profound and funny, and your mind would make all these connections, and you just felt so much love for everything. That's Jesus eyes, Jesus herb, Jesus heart. You don't have to be a Christian to love Jesus either. So, explore a lot of different options for your healing and be really open-minded and open-hearted about it. You might have a long ways to go, long ways, or you might be almost there. It doesn't matter. Either way, you gotta just, start somewhere and just go with the flow, You might need reminders. You might need a partner who loves you unconditionally to remind you of who you really are or what your real potential is. My partner saw that I was a total train wreck, and he said that it was my potential that he wanted, really. And my potential is me that is unmanifested because it's buried under trauma, right? And he was able to see that like a diamond in the rough. So the whole time I've been with him, it's been all about polishing my diamond. And the crud that was on my diamond was the traumas and the wounds and all of their manifestations in my life. And gradually awakening and aligning and descending from the context of trauma. It's very difficult for survivors of trauma to do this process. And yet we're totally equipped for the journey of the hero. Unlike privileged people who never had anything bad happen in their life and they think they're attaining enlightenment. Maybe they are, but to me it seems more young, like a young soul, or more superficial. I'm having images in my mind of people sitting on the sidewalks in India with big smiles, with beautiful white teeth and dark skin and black hair. And they're sitting there all crippled in poverty, and they're smiling. How do they do that? I saw an article on Facebook the other day that said, so who knows if it's true, right? It said that some activists, probably overly educated activists, possibly from privileged lifestyles, have been saying that this tiny house movement is equivalent to appropriation of poverty culture, which is freaking hilarious if you think about it. The tiny house movement is about overcoming affluenza with voluntary simplicity and reducing our consumption of the earth and living in balance and alignment. And these people in their ivory towers perceive it as appropriation of poverty culture. So that's why I'm saying that people who've been through some heavy shit often have more common sense and a better understanding of things that are really going on. Not to say anything bad about privileged people, but I'm just trying to portray the personality characteristics that I see. Stereotypes are just a mental shortcut to try to make communication easier, but we're not supposed to totally believe in them. We're supposed to see the divine in those people too, and see their potential as well, to see that they're well-meaning, but they're off base in their interpretation. And that happens in life. So I feel like I'm going to wrap it up now for today. I hope this helped you in some way with your trauma, with thinking about how you can move through it and beyond it to what awaits you on the other side as you expand into your fullest potential, whatever that may be, with unconditional love, starting with yourself and then radiating outwards, and processing things that happen and integrating the fractured parts of yourself into your whole again, wholeness. It's a long process and it takes time, so be gentle with yourself and be good to yourself. So remember to be beautiful, be free, and be true to yourself. Be blessed by whatever this day brings, and be blessed because you are a blessing. Be blessed by being blessed, and we're blessed by blessing. And as you go through your day today, take care and take it easy. And until I talk to you again, namaste and blessed be.